Well, September will probably be.
Okay, that's fine.
It is a bit.
Yes. Changing my position.
Well, there you go.
Okay. Good evening, councillors, town clerk, and Christina. Welcome to this meeting of the Sandwich Town Council Finance and General Purposes Committee. Today, the 19th of June. First item is apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chair. We have apologies from Councillor Green, who has a travel commitment, and Councillor Pennington, who has a travel commitment.
Thank you. Item 2, declarations of interest. To receive any declarations of disclosable pecuniary interest from members in respect of business to be transacted on the agenda. Any declarations? No, thank you. Item 3, minutes of the Finance and General Purposes Committee. To receive and approve the minutes of the Finance and General Purposes Committee held on the 22nd of May 24, and to consider any matters arising from those minutes not covered elsewhere in this agenda. Councillor Black.
Question. I thought, didn't we have to select the chair?
No,
Not
no,
for
no,
this
this
one.
is not this. No,
not
this
this
Toddbridge.
one.
It's
This
not,
is
this is
Toddbridge.
finance.
Oh, it's Toddbridge, sorry, my apologies.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I was with
That's the next meeting.
I was elected, I believe, at
You
the
were.
last meeting.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, my apologies.
Yeah.
I do have a supplementary question now. I wasn't present, so I didn't quite understand. I wrote a proposal which I think Councillor Tuke presented about the video, but I see there's a comment here about wanting further information. It would be useful if somebody could let me know what further details were needed, because this was something that the Tourism Forum is resolved to do, and was seeking some funding, not the entire funding. And there's no question of going into a whole range of 3 or 4 bids, because it's just one thing that the Tourism Forum wants to do. So if someone could let me know what additional features are sought. I have to say that I shall soon be handing over my secretary responsibilities to somebody else, but I would like to at least be able to hand over a clean sheet to him.
All hope.
All right, so him.
Councillor Black, I can update you. There is a development since that meeting. I have had a meeting with Dover District Council, so I can talk to you about, because I wouldn't be pertinent for me to speak on behalf of that group, but there is an update and I can share that with you, and then we can talk about
Share it offline then.
Yeah.
That's fine, thank you.
Okay, any other?
Yeah, I've just got one comment against FGP.05.24.6. It was the sub meetings around the risk register. We're going to talk about risk register tonight, but I would like to see the town clerk added to the list of those involved, because it's a product that you will own. So I'd hate that decisions will be taken without your involvement.
We're all happy with that.
Proposed acceptance of the minutes, Chairman.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's seconded. All those in favour? So those minutes are received and approved. With one abstention.
Yeah.
Item 4, public participation, 20-minute session for members of the public to make representations at the meeting in respect of business on the agenda. Do we have any?
No request yet.
Okay, no requests, thank you. Item 5 is the risk register. Town clerk to share the draft risk register with the committee for consideration and comments. Committee to select individual risks to be scrutinised first by the working group. That's the finance and assets working group. Some decision required, and this has been circulated by the town clerk. Do we have any comments?
Yes, so just to explain that the text in blue is where there has been work done and updates provided since it was last published. So hopefully you've had an opportunity to look at that.
So just my general observation would be that if we're looking to identify risks to take into a separate meeting, we probably don't want to be too constraining about what that meeting discusses, but what my suggestion would be, first of all, to focus on the highest scoring risks. So if they've been assessed by the town clerk and her team as the ones with the greatest likelihood or impact, we should focus on those first. And I think there's about 25% of the risk score for, so that might be where we want a group to look first.
For the amber first, yeah. Is that agreed?
Yeah, I'll second that.
I think going through this, it seemed to me that some of the wording needed to be expanded upon. So when we're talking about assets, we need to make a distinction between fixed and movable assets. And also the key risk for me is the absence of key documents.
Yeah.
Allotments, for example, a key risk would be lack of use of allotments and therefore the threat of development or vandalism and everything else. So we need to, I think we need to expand some of the wording on this risk register. But perhaps if we can agree that the working group will first of all look at the amber risks at its next meeting, is that something that's agreeable?
Yeah. I suppose the supplementary, I suppose, is who's going to coordinate this. In terms of membership, we have got, I know, Colin, that you're part of that group.
Councillor Gray, Councillor
Peter,
Green,
myself, you, Colin, and Vicky as an observer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not a quiet one. Hopefully you'll take part.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But as a learning.
so can we leave it to the town clerk to set up a meeting to take that forward?
That seems the best option, I would say.
Yeah.
We'll canvass some dates and then we'll
Yeah.
kick off.
Hopefully we'll meet them.
Okay, is that, do we have a proposal for that? I'll propose that.
I'll second it.
All those in favour? That's agreed. So that's the way forward on that, that's good. Item 6 is allotments updates. The town clerk to share a verbal update on progress with both allotment sites, which includes actions from a meeting with plot holders. This meeting took place a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
I think we had about 15 or 20 plot holders there from both Sandown Road and Black Lane. And I think it's fair to say there was some disquiet, unhappiness. The mayor chaired the meeting. So I think we do need to up our game on the management of the allotments and make sure that the plot holders are happy that all the plots are allocated and that we have regular meetings where we can check that cultivation is taking place. But yeah, 10 o'clock is going to update us on that.
Yes, thank you. So the assistant clerk, since she's been back from leave, she's spent a lot of hours on the allotment site. So the letters have now gone out for all the plots that haven't been cultivated to the required standard. And there was a site inspection carried out with the 2 site reps nominated for Black Lane. So all those letters have gone out to those holders. There's also some signage gone up to advise everybody of contact information for the town council. We are setting up the dedicated email as well, which is allotments@sandwichtown.council.gov.uk. So that will be done once County IT have confirmed that for me. And basically there will be a walk around that's organised for July, which the mayor will be attending, Councillor Miles, Councillor Franklin and the site reps. So that's Black Lane. Also on Sandown, we have there was a site rep appointed for that site as well. And we have made contact with 2 individuals for the 2 vacant plots that are there. And we've also sent a letter to the 1 non-cultivated plot for that site as well. So there has been a lot of work done since she's been back from leave. So, and apparently the site meeting went very well this week with the 2 site reps of Black Lane, and they're really happy that there's progress on.
I did want to just say the sort of crux of the whole meeting that we had with the allotment holders. It was the general theme to the whole thing was communication, and but it was you know, a double-headed coin really, because the town council had not perhaps put the communication across on all matters fully itself, so there was issues there. There could have been better communication, and one of the things I asked for was a generic email address, so that instead of it going into somebody's personal email box, if they're on holiday, there is a generic email box that anybody can log on to. But on the flip side of the coin, some of the attendees said, oh well, I didn't get any notification to come tonight, and then when I asked about, I said, oh, have you changed your email address? They said, no, I haven't got an email address. So likewise, there was plot holders that hadn't notified of updates of their contact details, and some of them haven't got email accounts at all. So obviously letters have to go out, and that's a very lengthy process. So I think, you know, on both sides, there's a bit of failure on both sides, but it is now being addressed, and it's being addressed rapidly. So it's good to see that improvement's been made.
So that's good, but obviously I'm not involved in it, so my observations are remote in terms of more about the process. So if it was a fractious meeting, which is what I think I'm hearing, we've got some councillors who've got real interest in the allotments and the success of them. So is there an opportunity to join up more with the officers on this as we go forward, rather than maybe necessarily going in the meeting and being surprised by any issues? Because it needs to be a collective responsibility. The person allocated to it as an officer obviously hasn't got years of allotments experience in Sandwich. So I think with people like yourself, Paul and Colin, and also Jeff particularly, it would be really helpful to add value to the officer effort on this, rather than maybe finding meetings where people around the table, including councillors, might be surprised.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, that is important.
Just maybe a learning point from that meeting.
I think as I should have declared at the beginning that I am a plot holder. That was not quite thing. So I do have an interest, maybe not a pecuniary interest. I was up there this morning picking strawberries and so on. But I said at the meeting, I'd been walking around the Black Lane plot, the site, and somewhere between a quarter and a third of the plots are currently overgrown, uncultivated, and that has an impact on other people, because my plot's surrounded by two uncultivated plots, which, you know, it's like the day of the Triffids, you get invaded by weeds. But the allotments are one of our primary functions. They're hidden away to some extent, so lots of people in the town don't necessarily know they're there, but they are an important function that we have, and they do have a big role to play in terms of, you know, well-being and fitness and healthy food and a community. They are like mini community centres in many ways. You chat to people, some people you don't particularly want to chat to, but there is scope for investment, I think, because the plot I had in Cambridge for many years, we had a building on the site, we sold seeds and compost, and it was a meeting place. So it could be something that the Maddox or the Tollbridge Fund could invest in the future, because it's clearly for the benefit of people in the town. And I think we need to do much more in terms of promotion. We need to make sure there's an active, you know, waiting list, so that that waiting list acts as an incentive to current plot holders to, you know, to get their act together. And if they're not looking after the plot, they can be told, well, we have people waiting, so, you know, here's your last warning, red card, yellow card, red card, etc. So yeah, I think we do need probably a report to a future meeting of this committee, which is responsible for the allotments, just setting out exactly what's been done, what what we can do in the future, etc.
That was my question really, whether there was an active waiting list, because you kind of assume there would be, but I'm surprised there isn't. Is that a lack of knowledge, do you think?
There is a waiting list.
There is.
Yes, yeah, it's not terribly long. I've been to other councils where it's very lengthy, but it's not too long.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add as well for the record that the uncultivated plots, Karen tells me, is gone on for a few number of years. It's not just this year, just to record that as well. It's not just the present staff, it's actually been going on for a number of years. And Chloe has actually today as well done a complete new map for the site, the Black Lane site, so that should be really helpful as well.
Yeah, there's a distinction between those who pay and then do nothing. Maybe they're rewilding their plot, who knows, and those who don't pay and where we need to find a new tenant.
Yes.
But we definitely need to.
Just wanted to pick up on the point that Councillor Tuker said. You know, the staff that we've got in currently, you know, you're talking about 6 or 7 months knowledge and experience here in Sandwich, and as the town clerk mentioned, a lot of the issues that were raised recently were issues that were about during the previous administration, and they just weren't picked up then. So and obviously the staff we've got now are trying to follow the practices that were undertaken before, and of course those weren't working, so it's a case of trying to put something in there that will work. But when you're trying to pick up something from a previous office holder or administration and they've not got it right, it tends to continue the legacy, doesn't it? So but anyway, we're on the right path now, so positive.
And there is potential as well for working with schools and other organisations for, you know, wildlife ponds and community food, etc. So perhaps with the Jubilee Centre. So yeah, if we could, can we agree that we note the report that we've had tonight and ask for a full report either to the next meeting of this committee or the meeting after, depending on staff resources? Would that be?
Yeah.
Sorry, can I just ask that if you are asking for a full report, it's made explicit what you want contained within that, because that needs some explanation. I would suggest to make sure it hits the marks.
So I would suggest a full report setting out plot by plot what the state of play is, that they're occupied, cultivated or not, as the case may be, and the action that's been taken on each plot. Not naming names necessarily, but just for GDPR, but just plot by plot. Setting out details of the waiting list, setting out details of how we can better promote the allotments to get more people on the list, and then just a general commentary, which I'm happy to write about how we might invest and deal with management issues in the future, because certainly where I had a plot in Cambridge, we had a management committee on the site. One of the plot holders was managing the site, doing regular inspections, etc., and allocating plots. So he would allocate a quarter plot to begin with, for example, and then a half plot, depending on if the person, you know, actually did some work, then they would be given a bigger plot. So it was a taster exercise, and then it's a much more effective way of managing, because many people take on a plot. If you take on a plot in April that's overgrown, you become very easily dispirited and disillusioned, and you give up. Whereas if you've only got the smaller plot, and perhaps we also invest in strimming, or, you know, rotivating a plot, just to allow people to get going. So there's all those kind of issues I think we need to consider.
Just on that note, is there a kind of a likelihood of people wanting to manage half plots? Could that be?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It
Yeah,
could
I
be
mean
the
actually
case.
more long term.
Rather, yes, because some of the plots at Black Lane, certainly, some are small, some are really, really big.
Yeah.
One is, it must be half an acre or so. And to take that on is a big commitment, so perhaps we need to think about.
And if we look at the waiting list, and then trying to accommodate that in any ways in terms of available space, not necessarily with plots that are.
So I think when a plot comes up, it's not just a case of giving it to the first person on the list. It's, you know, what their capability is, whether they want a big plot, a small plot, etc. So there's all those issues we need to think about. So is that, you happy with that proposal that we bring a report? As I say, I'm happy to contribute to that.
Given the amount of information you're asking, I do think you need to defer that for at least 2 meetings.
Yeah.
There's an awful lot.
Yeah.
It's vital information by all means, but I think you
Not
can
for
overlook,
weeks.
especially people who will start taking holidays.
Exactly, I agree with that, yeah.
So I think, I mean, the growing season is well underway now, so in a way we've missed this year. So if we do that into the autumn,
September.
but what we have to do absolutely critically is to get the letters out by the end of this calendar year and make sure that all the plots are allocated by February, March at the latest, because otherwise the weeds start growing and then we're in trouble. So
So that's your proposal,
is
councillor.
that, that's my proposal.
I'll second that if it's, as I say, 2 meetings.
I would suggest September.
2 or 3
Yeah,
meetings
yeah,
there,
exactly,
September.
yeah.
Gives us time to do a full report.
Exactly.
Yeah. So all those in favour?
September, yeah.
Thank you. Right, item 7, events on the Guildhall Forecourt Square. Attachment 3, Town Clerk to share a verbal update on feedback for the Forecourt fees letter, which you recall we agreed some time ago. This has been shared with 4 event organisers for consultation purposes. The letter went out to the 4 where we proposed the lower fee. Committee to consider what needs to be done to move from interim arrangement adopted for this year, 24/5, to a permanent arrangement to be adopted from 25/26. This should include a review of the current supporting documents used for the hire of the forecourt, conditions for community and commercial hire of the Guildhall Square forecourt, Sandwich Kent and Guildhall Square forecourt booking forms, and decisions are required. So, Town Clerk, do you want to?
Thank you, yes. So as a result of this letter which went out, which as Councillor Wiles said, it went out to the Folk and Elf Festival, Community Lights, the Weekend and the Sandwich Festival, as they are the 4 events that were identified that do use the forecourt. So as a result of that, we've had 2 separate feedback and contributions. So the first one is from the Folk and Elf Festival. They say that the letter stated that events such as Folk and Elf Festival will be required to register as a charity, become a community interest company or a charitable incorporated organisation. And speaking on behalf of the Folk and Ale Festival, the chair said he could advise that the event has been running for well over a decade and it's well known to Sandwich Town Council they are non-profit organisation such as ourselves are migrating to a type of organisation as listed will provide an additional level of surety to it will provide no additional level of surety to STC. He also wanted to add that the process to become one of the above is not simple, it's time consuming and is not guaranteed. As he's previously advised STC, the planning lead times extend to 11 months for each festival. Within the context of the consideration, planning the event, whilst not knowing whether it will be granted an appropriate charitable status, would make life very difficult indeed, particularly in relation to marketing, sponsorship, funding and financial planning. As STC are aware, we are run solely by volunteers and this is an additional volume of work that would not be welcome. We are already extremely busy running the festival as it is. He then goes on to talk about his full-time employment and then said that as being the chair of the Sandwich Folk and Ale Festival as well, it means that he's short on time. He said he doesn't have the time nor the inclination to start running a formal charitable organisation, and he'd also need to add that the Sandwich Folk and Ale Festival elects a new chair every August. So that means if a new chair is elected, that individual would need a reasonable period of time to familiarise themselves with the festival before they can even consider applying for one of the organisations. His short answer is, please don't try and fix something that isn't broken. Our organisation is simple by necessity and is fully transparent, particularly in relation to funding and the manner in which we utilise our funds. The changes proposed by STC will make it more likely that events such as ours will either cease to exist or will alternatively move elsewhere. There are no circumstances where our event will be able to afford £900 to use the forecourt for a 3-day weekend. So that is from the Folk and Ale Festival.
Who
Then-
signed that letter?
Sorry,
Who
the
signed-
chair
And
of
who's the current chair?
Ian Hall.
Hall.
Oh, yeah.
So this feedback is from Richard Harris, and this is on behalf of the Sandwich Festival. He wants to ask the question about are unincorporated associations considered eligible for the charitable rate of £25 per day? As I know, many of the committees and groups with these events are set up as unincorporated associations, and to move on to a charity, CIC or CIO, is quite a process for them. Many of the groups are run by volunteers with limited resources and time, and to change one of these status will require will be very difficult for them. The main difficulty is that the groups have a revolving door policy for committee members, and these volunteers may not wish to set up a permanent director guaranteed shareholder if they are only volunteering for a limited time. There is no set chairman for many of these events, as they have AGMs with the opportunity for others to take over positions. Whilst I agree it is actually a possibility for some of these groups to make this a reality, this is unfortunately a decision which needs to be taken by the current committee, and of course could change the nature of the group for the inevitable future of those groups. I certainly will talk to Folk and Ale, even though I'm no longer part of that festival, as much as I still help out with many of the aspects. However, I'm not sure that Folk and Ale Festival will be open to this. But he then goes on to say that for the time being, the government website states that an unincorporated association is an organisation set up through an agreement between a group of people who come together for a reason other than to make a profit. For example, a voluntary group or a sports club. You do not need to register an unincorporated association, and it does not cost anything to set one up. Would this be considered by the council that perhaps these groups meet the requirements that STC have placed and would still be able to benefit from the reduced rate? Thank you. So that's that feedback.
So can you remind us who the letter was sent to?
Yes, so it was sent to the chair of the Folk and Ale Festival,
Yeah.
the chair of Community Lights, the chair of the weekend, and the chair, well, there were 3 people that were involved in the Sandwich Festival because they said they don't have a chair.
Does the Sandwich Festival use the forecourt?
Yes.
And so 2 of them didn't reply.
No.
So who's first?
I do understand what they're saying about the amount of work involved, but I just come from a meeting of the Jubilee Centre, and in order to get any kind of grant, we have to be a registered community interest organisation, and it was a lot of work. And we are, all of us, volunteers, and we did it. And so, although I have some sympathy with people who are now being asked to do some additional work, which is the case, I have no sympathy with the argument that we should just act on trust, which is what they're asking us to do. I do think that we need to cross every T and dot every I, and we need to be fair to any other organisation that wishes to ask us for money and support, and we will expect them to be community interest organisations or in some way registered with the Charity Commission. So my feeling is that we should make it clear that we insist on this condition.
So for me, we have 2 exam papers to deal with. One is about any organisation coming to hire the space. And we should have a set of rules and criteria that are clear, that those organisations understand how they comply or don't. Then secondly, the other exam paper is about those that come to apply to the STBF fund or Maddox fund for grants. And they are separate, so I don't want to sort of confuse the matter about that, because I think for me the hire of a forecourt should be simple and straightforward, which is if an organisation wants to hire the forecourt and seeks to pay the community charge, they should be a CIO or COO. However, the caveat I would suggest, but this isn't a decision-making forum today, but the caveat I would be suggesting is that we ring fence, as we did this year, a small number of groups that are historically embedded in our community and do a lot of good for the community, and that they are protected for the future so long as their model doesn't change. And that's for me the way forward. So anybody new coming through the door makes it simple for us, because really we don't want a new organisation being created and we have to somehow trust or evaluate a sense that this group is really a community organisation or not, if we keep it simple. And this is mirrored by a number of other councils. It's CIC or COO that CIO that gets the lower rates. What I was going to suggest, Colin, was there's a piece of work here which is about reviewing the criteria for the fees. There's a review of the fees themselves, because again, the fees that we charge are significantly below our neighbouring councils. We should also look particularly at the associated costs, because I would like to say that the festival that happened 2 weekends ago left a dramatic amount of staining on their forecourts. No recourse, and actually what was on the forecourt was a private company like Feastival that were employed by that community festival to run their show. Seems really strange that we have to pick up the costs associated with that. So I've just a couple more to come. So the other thing is the review of the forms and the conditions for hire. And what I was going to say, Colin and Paul, is that I'm happy to go and work up a proposal for September for us to discuss that covers each of those points, and then we can make a decision as a group. But that will be the direction I will be going, which is ring fencing those that we know about. We might want to have a conversation also with Salute the 40s if they have any intention in the future. But I think then we just draw a line, and then we say anybody new through the door, it's easy for the office to determine whether the community or not. That's just my starting point.
Yeah, so I'd agree with what you're saying there, Councillor Tuker. And to tell the truth, I find those letters very condescending.
Oh yes.
Because the issue with those letters is they're stating something that happened in the past before we all knew, we all know we've got this massive public works loan, which was foisted on us by the previous administration. We all know it's got to be paid. We've got to face up to our responsibilities. Somebody's got to pay that public works loan. It's purely for the forecourt, so it's not as if we're hiking up the charges on the Guildhall as well. It's just purely to recoup that public works loan for the forecourt. We have been caught in the past. We've been caught out by event organisers who didn't say who they were. So how, as Councillor Ungerson rightly said, how can you take people on trust to say, oh, it'd be okay, everything could be fine? And as you cited, I was going to say that as well, was we have had, since this has all been introduced, an organisation that's come along, has been extremely successful on the forecourt, and they paid the full fees.
Yes.
And they put matting down, the festival put matting down, which I saw over at Home Bay. I went to check on them over at Home Bay to check it over there. I think, it's the Guildhall forecourt belongs to the town council. The town council has got to manage it, and we know the outgoings on it. These people in these letters don't know the outgoings on it. So that's why it's condescending, because you know, do they want to come in and actually see, as you said, Councillor Chuka, the reality of how much it costs, including all the on costs as well,
Yeah.
staff hours, electricity, utilities, everything like that. And now with the forecourt, who's going to clean the mess up on the
Yeah.
forecourt?
Well, we're going to have to pay for it professionally, I think.
So I say stick to our guns. As Councillor Chuka said, we've already ring fenced the existing organisations. We should keep to that. There should be definitely a review of the fee that we introduced for this year, and we said that we would review that, and we should get back to them before the autumn with the fees on that. But apart from everything else, I would say congratulations to the centre for doing their CIO, and because, you know, if they can do it, everybody can do it. It is a lot of hard work up front.
And we also have an AGM, and
Exactly.
you know, there's no problem. You just change. You tell the charity commission that the trustees have changed.
Exactly, yeah. And I was, for instance, just talking from experience here, you know, I was on the Christmas Lights Committee I chaired it for 12 years, and I mean, the committee was almost the same year in, year out, and just perhaps the chairman would change every set number of years. So the information saying that, well, there's a flow through of different members, I don't believe that is to be true.
No, it's not.
So I'm very upset by the state of those two letters to the council.
I just wondered. Sorry, Colin.
Can I just, so if you recall, this is a discussion that's been going on for some time. When we were talking about unincorporated community organisations, which is what I think Richard Harris is referring to, we made the point that one way forward might be for them to submit independently examined accounts, which would cost £250 or £300 a year. Now it seems to me it's probably cheaper just to go down this route, to go for the CIC or the CIO route. I mean, I've been company secretary of a charity. The work isn't onerous. It's a bit fiddly and a bit boring, but you know, it's not hours and hours of work, and it doesn't really cost very much either.
No.
So I think that's one thing to think about. I think we have to say, obviously, these events are really important for the town. You know, they bring in lots of people. Some businesses benefit a lot more than others. Some say they don't benefit at all. Some residents complain about noise. So I think we have to take a balanced view of all those differing views. But yeah, I think there's two aspects to this. I think the proposal Councillor Chuka is making is that we have the 4 existing charities, or 4 existing groups rather, and that we should allow them to continue at the lower rate in perpetuity unless their status changes. Is that correct?
That's right, except for the fact, of course, we review at least every 12 months in any case. So the only commitment we can make, and certainly within an administration term as well, the only commitment we can make is for the next 12 months. That is our intention. That's what we'll put into guidance. However, a subsequent administration or this council can review that and change it in the future. You can't give them that cast iron guarantee forever.
As an election candidate might say, we have no plans to change that in the foreseeable future. So I mean, I'd be happy with that approach. I mean, perhaps moving forward, we need to arrange a meeting with these groups and just talk through this and take a slightly robust approach. I think the problem also goes back to the fact that SCEA and their refusal to register as any kind of formal organisation, so that's the problem. Sorry, Councillor Anderson, did you want to?
No, it's all right.
I would agree that with Councillor Duke, we cannot give them this immunity in perpetuity. It does need to be reviewed regularly because organisations do change. They may change slowly. The second thing is what I don't know enough about this, but is the big work in year 1 setting yourself up as this organisation, and is the maintenance fairly easy and low level? because if you have to go through a very long laborious process every year, that's one thing. If once you're set up, it's a relatively minor bit of work, that's a different matter. Now, you could do something like say, well, we'll give you a 1 or 2 year grace period, but at the end of that time, I'm sorry, we really do need some longer term assurances. And that's another way of doing it.
I think these are all reasonable and they would come through the process of review in September. But I think if the direction from this group is that we look somehow to protect the 4, maybe +1, then that's how it will be framed. We need to be very explicit about the additional on-costs they've been mentioned. So, for example, electricity must be charged. We can't have £25 fee and then end up having to clean the forecourt and then maybe not charging it. That just isn't acceptable, because the core fee, 25, or what it becomes, is the starting point of our service and our facility that we provide.
Including staffing.
Oh, exactly. So the cleaning effort so far has been a member of our staff, hasn't been successful at all, but that's a few hours straight away. So the income we got has gone already.
Evaporated.
Yeah. And there is, and there is an argument about actually it's for the benefit of the town that the events happen and we're here to support the town, but I think we've crossed the line.
But not to cost to the council.
Yeah.
So,
Just a quick clarification, can I be reminded of how much it is for the non-discounted amount?
300 a day.
See, to me, £25 sounds a meagre amount,
It is.
an incredibly meagre amount.
Yeah.
It
Like
is.
when you're talking about staff involved and what have you.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
So,
Just as an observation.
No, it's a good observation. Yesterday I went online and checked the current rates for 24/5 for Dover, Canterbury and Thanet, and we are massively adrift of what community organisations have to pay.
So the proposal is that we write to the, I think to all of the organisations now, all of the event organisations, and say our proposal is that the 4 established groups will stick with the lower rate in perpetuity, subject to any future administrations changing it, but that any new groups will be required to go down the CIC or CIO.
Could I suggest something slightly different, Colin? I think we need to take some time to get it right.
Okay.
We need to weave in the explicit requirements around cleaning, electricity, all of that, so we can table a complete picture of what is the responsibilities, be they private or community.
So we need to work on these documents.
So yeah, and I'm offering to
And
work
putting
on those
clauses about recharging for
Yeah.
power and for
and I will
staffing.
within that I'm happy to approach those chairs and have a conversation
Okay,
with
fine.
them.
Well, I'll happily come
yeah,
on to that.
yeah.
as well.
Me too.
Yeah.
Discussion.
But what I personally, I wouldn't want us getting into the round table conversation that we had last time. Claire was there as well. I don't think that helped anybody in that room really.
Well, I think the problem there was one individual who was determined to be aggressive and unhelpful.
Yeah.
So,
But we move on.
It does say in these documents on this final page here that the council has the right to review the fees on a 6-monthly interval.
And that might be where we better keep.
So we're even missing a trick. There's us being generous and saying, well, we'll review them annually.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually been agreed that we'll review them 6-monthly.
okay. So the proposal is that Councillor Chuka and I, and anyone else who wishes to be involved, reviews these documents, comes up with a first draft, if you like, and then has a meeting with the various event organisers, and by the autumn we come back with a firm proposal, both for fees and for additional charges.
Slightly modifying
Okay.
again. I'd much prefer that we work on it, we engage we're not dogs and tails.
Okay.
We engage, we can say what we're doing, but we come to the council, because this is where the authority lies, with the proposal to agree, because it may be modified, and then we can then go back and say, this is the outcome. I do not want policy being designed outside this room.
Definitely not. Yeah.
Engagement is important, but it isn't about directing
But
us.
ultimately, we have to make that decision.
Exactly.
Regardless.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that?
The only thing I would add is that we really have to make it clear that reasonable costs have to be covered in the sense of clean, that's almost in your discussions with them initially, which is we cannot have a situation whereby they're getting free electricity and there certainly needs to be some arrangement should a spill occur. Who's got the liability for that? Because otherwise, you'll go round and round in circles, I suspect.
That needs to be built into the documents.
Yeah, however you build it in, I just think to make it clear from the outset.
Yeah, there's two things that have been flagged up. Matting now becomes a requirement in the agreement. Secondly, is a retainer from even community organisations.
Yeah.
It's refunded if everything's fine. If not, then that is used to compensate.
Yeah. And also, we need a way of measuring electricity usage.
We do have a way at the moment, but I don't know if there's any options for bettering that. We do
Yes.
have a way.
Yes, I think there is a process to
Right.
be reviewed there for improving, yes.
It must be easy to measure electricity. It's one of the easiest things to measure.
I know it's a case of obviously somebody remembering to read meters and I'm thinking that we might even be able to do a check meter. That's what I'm hopeful.
That's probably the easiest way.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll second that.
So the proposal is we go away, review these documents, have informal meetings with the organisers, and come back with a firm proposal for the council to consider.
I'll second that.
All those in favour? Pass. Thank you.
Are we coming on to the documents next, or are we just taking the...
I think we're saying we're going to go away and look at that.
Okay, could I just make one very minor one? I've made it before. Method of payment. If you're doing buybacks, it costs people a fortune. It's a straight, there's a different term of online payment. Backs is the expensive one you do for really big sums.
Yeah.
Sorry, but that's the patent in the capital.
No, we all make payments on our bank accounts.
Exactly, but they're not backs.
Which is free of charge.
So it just needs to be taken out, it just needs to be electronic payment
Yeah.
as
Exactly.
opposed to backs, which you used to buy your house with, or I did.
I think it would be useful if all of us could look at those documents anyway and
I was
just
going to
send
say that,
through comments to
yeah,
the
I
town
would
clerk.
suggest that.
Shall we move on? Item 8 is the market update. Town clerk to share a verbal update on the Thursday and Saturday markets. A more in-depth report to be shared for the next meeting.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm sure those of you who were brave enough came out and saw the first Saturday market. And we have now taken delivery of the new 6 additional gazebos as well. So we do now have 18 gazebos at our disposal, which is good news. The administrator who works on the front desk, she's been doing a lot of work in the background to promote for new stallholders, liaising with myself and Councillor Chuka about who's going to be here on which day. And it's encouraging because we've had some new stallholders come forward. For example, this Saturday there are not going to be any stallholders that are here on Thursday. Nobody's available, but we do now have, I think at the last count it was 9 stalls for Saturday. So it's encouraging, it's all going in the right direction, and it's exciting that we get new people involved and coming to Sandwich for the first time, and hopefully encouraging our visitors and residents to come out and see what's on offer. And a lot of that promotion has been done through Facebook, and I think that's working very well at the moment.
I just wanted to say a big thank you to the town clerk and also to Councillor Chuka. I've lived through the previous several administrations, and I would like to say that the most amount of work and promotion to get the market properly set up and running adequately or effectively has happened just recently in the last 6 months, so I'd like to say that. I'd also like to say I came and attended the very first Saturday market, and the weather was not the best of weather. It was very windy and very drizzly, and yet I spoke to, I think, nearly every single stallholder. I made a point of going around them all to talk to them, ask them where they'd come from. They were all in very good spirits. Most of them said that they had covered their fees, which was not just the stall fee but also the transport fees to get there on a very wet and windy day. So imagine what it would be like on a bright, sunny, happy day there. I did say that there was also a sort of proposal to try and get some informal music on the forecourt as well, to give it a more of an ambience there as well. So I think that we're really onto a winner now, and I think it's really good to see that the Saturday market has been put forward and it is actually starting. It's always difficult to get anything like this to move forward and get it going, but now I think we've got a very good foundation for the Saturday market to continue and actually be oversubscribed. So I'm very positive for the whole thing. I'm just very thankful to the Town Clerk and Councillor Chuka for all the hard work they've put in.
Time will tell.
Any other comments? Okay, well, thanks for that update, and can we pass a vote of thanks to the Town Clerk and her staff and Councillor Shuker and onwards and upwards. That's great, thank you.
It's not the wind.
Item 9, audit report from internal audit by Mulberry Local Authority Services Limited, and this has been circulated on the agenda. This is for the internal audit year ended 31st of March 24, and this will be shared with the council at the full meeting next week. Members are invited to receive and note the report. Any comments on this? Seems to be a fairly comprehensive view of our activities.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to put on record as well that the incredible work from the responsible financial officer, and obviously I was in support as well. I'm really pleased with this audit. It really does demonstrate that the governance and everything, the financial organisation is really sound here, and I think it's a great report that hopefully all the councillors have had an opportunity to read in detail, and it will actually mean that we, once we go to the final audit, the external auditor, they'll be happy with the report as well, and we can get our annual governance, annual return signed off.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, one thing I was going to ask was, when this has been agreed by the Town Council, is there a possibility to publish this so the public, we can show what we are doing? This council, this administration is set up to be transparent and democratic, so can we get this published so that the public can also review it and see where we are?
Yes, so part of the audit process is for all these documents, the annual governance, annual return after Monday will all be published on our website. And obviously people will be welcome to come and ask for a copy as well. It will be on the notice boards. Yeah, so it will be publicly available. That's part of the process for the annual governance, annual return. And there's obviously as well the public get an opportunity within, it's a window of opportunity that I think is for 20 or 30, sorry, I can't remember how many days. But anyway, there's window of opportunity, the public can come in and inspect the accounts as well. So all that will be part of the process, and it will be all transparent and shared.
That's how we mean to go on, isn't it?
Good. Any other comments?
No, it's not a comment, it's a question, and please tell me if it's not a legitimate question, but I mean, we have funded a new software package, and I just wondered if you could tell us whether that's been helpful, or is it saving the amount of time that we expected it to do?
So the new finance software currently, it's a very steep learning curve is what I would say. It's not currently saving any time at the moment because we're having to do training, and obviously it's working with the system to get the reports that you want producing and in the right format as well. So there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. So we've only, had training a couple of months ago. So it's really now trying to bed in all that training, put it to use with the system, and try and make sure that the reports that we're producing are, more helpful to councillors and to the officers. But it has been a huge steep learning curve for all of us. And I think it hasn't helped with obviously having the new website and the new finance software and the new booking system all at once.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah,
fine.
just
So.
wanted to say that, Chair, the Guildhall staff have been under extreme pressure. There's been a lot of changes, particularly to do with software. Also, I just wanted to point out with the current new financial system, they're doing what's called parallel running. So they've got the new system, they've been trying to set up the new system, but they've also been inputting and making reports from the old system as well. So in fact, that the current 2 to 3 months, they've actually been doing double the work that they should have been doing, the RFO. So I think we'll see the benefits, possibly in about the next 2 to 3 months of sort of better reports and more clarity and possibly, more officer time to spend on other requests that we make of them.
But it is the initial view that it's a positive step
Yes.
forward, or
Yes.
are they regretting the decision?
No, it is a positive step forward, and it is just really making sure that the reports are in a format that everybody can easily understand. And I think that at the moment is the challenge, because it's not it's off the shelf. It's not a bespoke system for us, so it's really making it work for us. And obviously the added complication, as we know, for STC is we've got the Tollbridge Fund, and obviously the Maddox legacies. So all those intricacies for STC all add to the work, but I'm sure it will be for the good when we get there.
Okay, any other comments on this? So the decision is that we receive this report.
Yeah, propose that the committee accept the report.
I second that. All those in favour? Thank you. Item 10, date and time of next meeting, 17th of July 24. I declare the meeting closed.
Thank you.